Hello, everybody. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Georgiana.
And this is Wholehearted Loving, where we teach you simple tools for self-love and compassion to grow the muscles you need to be with big feelings, triggers, and overwhelming sensations in your body.
Whether you have active challenges in your life or relationships, or whether you're just here to learn to be kinder to yourself, we pull out all the little things that make life feel better, the things that give you a sense of hope and direction.
So if you're too hard on yourself or on others,
if you want to feel real, deep connection in your life and relationships,
even if you want to reprogram your inner critic while you're sleeping,
this is a great place to be.
So welcome, and we hope this episode brings you just the tidbit you needed today.
Enjoy the show.
Adorable. All right. Hello, everybody. Today, we're beginning by making tiny chicken noises. And we're going to be talking about something simple, a practice to give you if you are feeling sensitive or feeling whatever way you're feeling and going into a very overstimulating environment, and you want to be connected with yourself during that time. You can find prompts for this episode and every episode on our Instagram at Wholehearted Loving, and you can learn more about us and how to practice this work live with us on our website at wholeheartedloving.com. Before we get started, we'll do a body-based self-connection practice to connect with ourselves before we connect with each other and this podcast.
Nice. Well, this practice just came to me. I mean, I've done it before, but it just felt right to share, and I think it fits into the theme of this episode. So let's bring some awareness to your body. What are you on? Like, not what kind of drugs you're on, but like, what are you sitting on? I don't know why that came to my mind. Anyways, I am sitting cross-legged. You don't have to sit cross-legged, but I have my left hand on my left leg and my right hand on my right leg. So see if your hands want to rest on your body somewhere. And what we will do is a gentle tap, alternating hands. So what that means for me is like the palms of my hands stay planted. And I just lift the four fingers and use that to make a tapping sensation. If you actually want to lift up your whole hand and tap, you can do that too. I'm trying that right now and I don't like it as much, so I'm going to go back. And notice how that feels. And you can also play with the pace of it. You'll probably find that there's a just right, like Goldilocks and Three Bears. There's like a just right pace and a just right, like how much pressure you use. Yeah.
I'm really enjoying the subtle difference between, so I'm tapping one hand on my leg and the other hand on the arm of my chair. And I'm enjoying the difference of feeling the feeling in my fingertips and inside my leg, and just feeling the fingertip feeling of the other hand.
Isn't it neat?
It is neat.
So as you said that, I was like, oh yeah, let's switch up one hand. So one hand I have on my chest and one hand I left on my leg. And what I'm enjoying is they thump differently. Different sound, because on my chest it's on my like bare skin and also just a different part of the body. It sounds different. On my leg, like it's on my pants.
Oh, I've got a very pleasing thump going on here. I've moved from the arm of the chair to my desk surface. My desk is a tatami mat, so it's like woven bamboo around a bamboo structure. So like the sound is pleasing, the microscopic vibration and the hollowness inside it is pleasing. These would all be really good things for me to be able to focus on if I was in an overstimulating environment.
Yes. So we don't even have to necessarily walk you through the next bit, but just even something like this, right? And if you want to add another layer to it, cross the body and then tap, right? And you might not feel comfortable yet walking around in public, being with other people doing this, but there's always a before you enter a situation time that you can prepare yourself by offering this kind of holding or tapping. There's always a after the situation time.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Focus. So there's something about, I'm going to say, having some control over the focus in these overstimulating environments. So I'm thinking about like busy marketplaces, for example, a lot of sounds, a lot of sights, a lot of different people's energy, smells, a lot of sensory data that can overwhelm and flood the system.
And I have learned about myself over the years that I'm a highly sensitive person and can feel very overwhelmed in those places. Sometimes leading me to think I need to avoid those places, or sometimes just being really uncomfortable in those places, or sometimes being very checked out in those places, or sometimes being there and present, but then afterwards feeling really depleted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whether you identify with being sensory sensitive, highly sensitive or not, I think most people can recognize that some places just feel like too much.
Yeah.
Right. Some moments feel like too much. And so focus is a really big thing. So let's play with this. This was something I learned in a workshop with Irene Lyon and Eliam Rack called, I think, Up and Down. And I don't know if I'm guiding it the way they did, but I think it's sort of become more personal over time. And so we just start with sort of where we were at. Like, can you bring awareness first to the left side of your body and the right side of your body? Mm-hmm. And it could be by bringing awareness through looking or touching or just thinking and bringing awareness in that way, visualizing, or it can be a combination. I like to use touch. And I like to look. Right? And then let's bring your awareness or your focus a little bit away from your body to your left. So we would say something I see on my left is my laptop case. And something I see on my right is the flower, the stand that my plants are on. And then I see that I'm in between those two places. And I also feel it. I feel my butt here. And I am in between these two things. So just bringing awareness to something that's to your left and something that's to your right. And I like to add saying the statements out loud. Mm-hmm. Right? So you can play with, let me rephrase. When I'm practicing on my own, in my house or whatever, I really like to practice saying them out loud. When I'm just out and I don't want to be like speaking to myself, I'll think it. Right? On my left is this, on my right is this, in between, I am in between these two things right now. So let's practice some more. Let's expand your focus on the left to something a bit further away. So I'm going to say the kitchen is on my left and the window is on my right. And I feel my butt on the ottoman and I see that I am in between the kitchen and the window. And it's neat because every time I describe this picture, when I say an I am here in the middle in between, I notice a sigh, like something settles in my body. Like I'm here. Now, this is the part where it gets a little bit more fun. I think it's more fun. Is now I got to use my imagination a little bit because I can't see beyond my kitchen. So I know that beyond this kitchen is the exterior of the building, and there's like a grassy patch outside. And so I can't see it, so I'm just visualizing. I'm knowing that there's this field outside of the building to my left. I can still see out the window, and I can see where Mount Baker usually is to my right, and I know that it would be there. And so I'm like in between Mount Baker and the grassy patch. And I went quite far on my right. You don't have to go that far. Like Mount Baker's actually in a different country and see it from here. But like I could, for example, go to, there's another field. There's actually an elementary school right there. I see it. And so that's further away than the window. And there's a grassy patch over there. And I am in between. I feel my butt on the ottoman. I see myself, here. And just notice how that feels. And then if you really want to go bigger, I already said Baker. Like, so the United States is often that way. And off this way, I'm going to challenge my directions a little bit. I know that there's another big set of mountains to my left. And so right now I'm in between. And like when I think of myself in between, I'm like, oh, I feel sort of little. I'm in between these two things that are far away.
Maybe it's focus and containment and presence awareness.
Right? So now that we've gone wide and opened up our focus, widened our focus, we can practice narrowing our focus and see how that feels in the body. Mm-hmm. Right? So you can either choose the same things or you can choose new things. So something for me that's closer than that grassy field is the elevator. I know there's an elevator on my left. I know that there's a swimming pool on my right. And I'm here in between.
Yeah.
And I can feel my feet on the ottoman right now.
This is so important because if you are in a state where you're able to do this, it will not be possible to become overwhelmed with everything that's going on.
You can't.
Right? It's this containment and focus that creates such a different feeling, even inside a really busy space.
Even inside a really busy space, because like, let's bring it. I'm going to bring it in a little bit more, and I'm going to bring it into. There's a plant on my right, and there's a dining table on my left, and now I'm in between these two things. So what I'm doing is I'm orienting to a smaller space. And not only am I orienting to a smaller space, I'm finding where I am in that space. I think that piece is crucial, right? Yeah. If I were outside, I'd feel my feet on the ground and notice like I'm actually here in between. And then I can come back to, here's my left knee, here's my right knee. I can orient to just this. Yeah. And so what I have felt is sometimes I walk into a room and it feels just like too much energy, too many people, too loud, too whatever. And I'm like, I just need to feel like I need to see, right, that there's a chair next to me and there's another table right here. And if I just orient to that space and I feel my butt on this chair, I'm good. And other times, and it could be the same type of setting, this is what's cool, I might realize I need to orient really wide to not feel swept up in this sardine-like feeling. And so I'm going to like the edge of the conference room, or even like the street that's outside, or the park that I know is on the other side. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Now I feel like I'm just one in this huge, vast space, right? All of us, hundreds of people are just, we're sort of like tiny in a bigger space. But if I close that space and I feel like there's people everywhere, that might feel a bit overwhelming. So play with it. There's no like if this, then that, other than if you feel overwhelmed, try to shift your focus and awareness to something different and see what happens.
Right. You can create spaciousness and expansiveness. You can create containment and self-protection without the external situation changing at all in any way. And I think it's so important what you said about the same situation feeling quite different moment to moment, day to day, mood to mood. And I think something that we're kind of socially suffering from currently is labels and what do you call it when pathologizing of things. So the popular one right now is ADHD and neurodivergence, and everyone's exploring hypersensitivity and being highly sensitive people and all of these things. I think it's really important to not restrict and limit ourselves with these words and ideas, right? There's days where a big, loud, crowded place is going to feel exactly what I need. And most days I won't feel that way, but leaving room for that. So having a big toolkit you can bring with you to equip you with whatever you need in all of those changeable moments, and being open to how you're actually feeling in those moments, in those places.
Yeah, I think it's important, labels, diagnoses, they can be very supportive and helpful, and they can also be very limiting and restricting. And it's in how we choose to use them.
Yeah.
Right. I used to identify as highly sensitive and then used it in a way that really limited myself. And now I feel like I use it in a way that helps me understand myself better, validate my needs more clearly, understand my needs more clearly. And also what's been cool is growing these skills to be able to be with what's uncomfortable, growing the skills to shift what I orient to. And so changing my nervous system state without this environment needing to change, because sometimes you can't change the environment or you can't change it immediately. That has left me in a position where I feel so much more empowered and able to be with life and engage in life. And to me, that's better. That's more freeing. There's more aliveness in me than the way I used to use that label. Right. And when I use that label, it was easy to be like, well, then I guess that's just how I am.
Yeah.
And I never knew or realized I could grow skills to be able to have access to different experiences.
Yeah.
So totally. I like finding that sweet spot of how to use these ways of helping ourselves understand what's going on, what we need, and seeing what else is possible in addition to. Yeah.
Great. Anything else you want to say before we do a closing practice?
Nope. I'm ready for closing.
Ready for closing. Okay. What are you feeling for closing?
I'm feeling for closing. I'm doing it already. We started with a sort of containment practice, if you want to call it that, like feeling one side of the body and the other. I think I started with left and right side. So I want to finish with front and back. Right.
These, I have to say, in high magic, the rituals and ceremonies we practice center us inside 4 external points.
Yes.
It's neat, this parallel.
Yes, right? And I have noticed that, yes, there's a left and right that feels good for me. When I bring awareness to the left side and right side of my body, when I offer a hold where I feel the left side and my right side of my body nicely held. But there's something about front and back that gives such a settling experience for me that I would have never known before.
Oh, yeah. And above and below.
Above and below, right? Yeah, to feel my feet on the ground. So if you want to try above and below, I feel my butt on the ottoman and I like placing a hand on my head on the top. And all of a sudden, how I feel shifts. And I love it. And I
Yeah.
love how simple it is.
And that's so neat. So for you, you really are a body person in a way that I'm not. Like, and even with the left and right, like you're like, I want to touch the left side. And I'm like, touch won't matter. It'll just be more stimulation. I need to bring my focus there. Bringing my focus above and below is totally different than touching.
That's what's great, is to know, and you only know through trying.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can bring my focus to the top of my head and it'll do something, but there's something about adding touch, right? And that's why when we guide people through this, we always remind people this is just a suggestion. It's just a starting point, a launching point. This isn't about following instructions. This is about noticing how your body feels with each option, and how your body tells you what feels good and what doesn't. And are you willing to honor that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of interrupted your practice, I feel like. Did I? Did I not?
Was there more so. I was just placing a hand on my back and a hand on my front. Right? But again, like if that isn't the thing for you right now, don't do that. Right? And also, if that isn't really your thing, and there's another part of you that wants to grow and try a thing that isn't really your thing and see how that feels, that's also an option.
Yeah.
I think that piece is so important, of like recognizing when there's a bit of, no, this isn't it. But sometimes it's, no, this isn't it. And I know that this is what would help me if I were to practice it a bit more. Right? It's different from, no, this isn't it. There's going to be danger if I go that way, or it's like really not aligned with what I want and need. That's different. It's a different kind of no, right? There's different types of no's.
Yeah. So much to discover. Many layers. Okay.
I want to do a drum roll.
Ta-da! We're done. All right. We are silly today. I like it. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. We will see you next week. Please do like, follow, and subscribe. And if anything we've said here today has been helpful for you, please share with somebody that you care about. See you next time.